In the early 20th century, the development of quantum physics blurred the division between traditional observational science and esoteric philosophy. Dr Manjir Samanta-Laughton has spent many years studying this field and developed ideas which place consciousness and the soul back into science. In her book, Punk Science, she takes us on a journey from the microcosmic world of atoms to the macrocosm of the universe. Today Manjir talks with us about her work and the profound experiences that caused her to start studying the subject.
Hi Manjir, thank you so much for joining us today. Before we delve into the meaning behind Punk Science, which is such a cool name, I'd really like you just to tell me a little bit about yourself and your background and kind of what led you up to writing about Punk Science.
Although, Karen, thanks for asking me today. I actually am from a medical background. My parents were doctors and I went into the medical profession as is expected. And I had what is known as a Kundalini experience quite early on in medical school. Right. And that is something that's a Sanskrit word that describes energy kind of coming up your spine, and it's supposed to sort of make you more enlightened, which is what happened to me, and it was completely unexpected. I was quite a skeptic of all these things before that, and I just walked into this yoga class and did these mantras, and lo and behold, I'm enlightened. And it was
I wish it could be that easy for everybody. That's fantastic. Do you want to give a few tips on that?
No. So I don't know quite what happened there, but it was like the light was switched on. Okay. And whereas before I didn't understand about energy and I didn't understand about psychic abilities or anything, I suddenly started to have them and have sort of total oneness experience where you feel, you know, completely one with the universe. And so I went through the whole of medical school with this growing awareness, and as you do, you know, when you get on your spiritual journey, you start to read the books and find the people and go on the courses. You know, I did all of that, and I started to realise that some of the energy I was feeling could be used in healing energy for my patients. So I knew that there'd be a lot of resistance from my fellow doctors who didn't quite understand all of this sort of mumbo-jumbo type thing as they see it. But I was seeing a lot of benefits for the people that I was treating outside of my medical practices. And I went on to train as a GP after that. And so I had a healing practice at the same time as being a GP. And I realised that unless you put the explanation behind healing into really simple language, which for me made total sense from cutting-edge physics, all the string theory, all the non-locality, all the quantum physics that was coming out of the physics world. Once you put that into really simple language, and it can explain things like telepathy and healing, and that's really where it came about. It went into a lot more, as these things always do.
So when you say you had like the GP practice, and you had the healing practice, what kind of form of healing was it?
I trained in something called plexus bioenergy, and it's quite well known in Ireland, and my healing teachers are called Michael O'Doherty and Tom Griffin, and good Irish lads. And they went on to the Late Late Show about 10 or 15 years ago now, which is a very well-known show. It's like the Wogan show that we had over here. And they became very popular as a result of that. And they started to teach in London. And I trained with them. And what I liked about their approach is they took a very scientific approach. It was very grounded. So, whereas a lot of people sort of who are healing teachers float around in their robes and everything, you know, these guys were very grounded. They all learnt martial arts, and they taught us how to do Qigong. So they taught us how to look after, Qigong, which is a Chinese energy discipline. So we learnt how to look after ourselves as well. And that really appealed to me. And they always had an eye to the science, the scientific explanation of bioenergy. So they
Could you just explain kind of how that works?
How that works.
Is it similar to like Reiki, where it's hands-on or hands-off, or
it is quite similar to
use
Reiki.
that? Right.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, it is quite similar to Reiki. If I can actually demonstrate
Sure.
the way bioenergy works,
Okay.
and in this country you might have heard of Biora,
Okay.
which is quite similar. Is you actually scan the chakras, so you're actually using your
Okay.
hand to scan the chakras and scan the
Right.
body, and what you're doing when you're doing that is you're picking up information from what people often call the aura, or you could call it the bioenergy field. And as you know, probably know, Karen, that you know, every process in your body has an electrical signal, and that electrical signal can be picked up quite away from the body. For example, when we take a cardiogram of the heart, we don't just look at the heart. We actually put electrodes on the leg. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't actually.
That's actually how, if you go down to a hospital, they're actually, if you're looking at the limb leads. So,
Right.
you know, every organ in our body, and this is known in medical science, and we use this every day, doesn't just sit there. It also has an electrical field, an electromagnetic field that actually comes away from that organ. And we use that every day in terms of our cardiograms.
Is that like acupuncture? Because there's like a beginning and an end point when they use the needles. So
Yeah.
is it like how you say you put the
Electrodes.
sorry, on the heart, and then you find that, is it like the exit point or the entrance point?
I think the way that, I mean, this is getting into a lesson about cardiogram. I think it's a bit different, because with acupuncture you're actually making an intervention into the body's subtle system.
Right.
And what you're doing with the electrocardiogram is that you're actually just picking something up. So it's a bit different. So it's not quite the same, but what you're doing is you're looking at the different sort of points where you can actually pick up the field, even at a distance. So we know that from our medical science. So what bioenergy does is it just uses the fact that the field of the body comes out at a distance, and it's mainly a hands-off sort of therapy where you're making an energy diagnosis first, and then you correct any imbalances.
Right.
And so there is a system which
How do you do that? How do you correct the imbalances?
well, one of the ways, mainly just using techniques with your hands, you can actually just clear off the energy with these sorts of movements, and you pull away. And sometimes you're pulling right to the edge of the room.
So it's very similar to Reiki.
Very similar, yeah. So they're all similar because they deal with the same universal
Energy,
energy.
exactly,
It's
and the
universal
auras.
energy, yeah. So I trained with that particular system, and you know, so that's what I was doing alongside, and I was seeing such fantastic results, and I really thought, got to get this out there. How do I explain this? My colleagues were completely sceptical. I mean, I'm not kidding. At 5 o'clock in the morning on call, they'd go, all right, do that sort of funny stuff you're doing, you know, do the witchy stuff, you know, because they were challenging me, because they wanted to really, you know, take the mickey,
So
really.
I was going to say, are they taking the mickey, or did they really want to know?
Oh no, they were very
more about it?
hostile.
Oh.
Yeah, they really did think it was strange, and I really understood that unless I get this into very, very simple language, unless I speak in a very scientific way about physics, then, you know, doctors, bless them, they're not going to understand, they're going to remain hostile, you know. So that's really where the idea of the book Punk Science came from.
Okay.